She did not hate you. That is the part that will take you the longest to understand. She did not plot against you. She did not wake up every morning deciding to destroy you. She was not your enemy in the way enemies are supposed to look. She simply operated at her nature. And you brought philosophy to a biology fight. You loved her like a poet. She needed you like a utility. And when you were no longer useful, not because you failed, not because you were weak, but simply because her needs shifted, she moved on. And you were left standing in the ruins of something you thought was real, wondering what went wrong. Nothing went wrong. You just never understood what you were dealing with. Today on Lone Warriors, we are not here to hate women. We are here to understand them. Coldly, clearly, without the fog of romanticism that has been killing men softly for centuries. This is female nature decoded. Machiavelli wrote that men are destroyed more often by their illusions than by their enemies. And nowhere is this more true than in how men relate to women. Most men love idealistically. They see a woman, and they do not see who she is. They see who they need her to be. They project onto her a depth, a loyalty, a spiritual completeness that exists entirely in their own imagination. They fall in love with a version of her that she never claimed to be and never asked them to believe in. Women by nature love conditionally. This is not a flaw. It is biology. It is evolutionary logic operating exactly as designed. A woman's love is transactional at its root. Not because she is evil, but because for thousands of years her survival depended on her ability to attach herself to the most resourceful, most capable, most dominant male available. That instinct does not disappear because we live in the 21st century. It goes underground. It wears a softer face, but it runs the same code. David Deida, in the way of the superior man, described this with surgical precision. A woman will test a man constantly not to be cruel but to assess his depth, his stability, his direction. The moment he wavers, the moment he needs her approval more than he needs his own mission, she loses respect, not consciously, biologically. And here's the trap most men fall into. They confuse a woman who needs them with a woman who loves them. A woman can need your money, your emotional labor, your physical protection, your mental stability, and feel nothing that resembles love as a man understands it. She can cling to you out of dependency and call it devotion. And a man who has never understood this distinction will spend years, sometimes decades, pouring himself into a vessel that is simply using him as infrastructure. Epictetus said, "Seek not that the things which happen shall happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil mind." The man who understands female nature does not rage against it. He simply stops being surprised by it. If you have ever confused being needed with being loved, and most men watching this have, hit that like button. This is the truth they will never teach you in school. This is the part most red pill content gets wrong. They paint women as villains, calculating, malicious, deliberately predatory. The reality is far more unsettling than that. A woman does not need to be bad to drain you dry. She just needs to operate at her base level of desire without intentionality. She just needs to, not grow. Think about what that means. A woman at her base level is oriented toward comfort, security, emotional stimulation, and social validation. These are not moral failures. They are factory settings. The same way a man at his base level is oriented toward lust, laziness, and dominance without direction. Base level is simply what happens when a human being does not consciously choose to develop beyond their instincts. The problem is that most men enter relationships with women operating entirely at that base level, and then spend years trying to elevate them. This is what Robert Bly would recognize as the man who has not yet found his wild man, the man who is so disconnected from his own masculine core that he turns the woman into his project, his purpose, his reason for existing. He becomes her therapist, her father, her life coach, her spiritual guide. He reads books to share insights with her. He pushes her toward growth she never asked for. He mistakes her comfort in his presence for a shared desire to evolve. And she is perfectly fine remaining exactly where she is. This is a teacher trap, and it is one of the most dangerous places a man can find himself. Because while he is busy trying to elevate her, she is drawing from his mental resources, his emotional resources, his spiritual resources, his financial resources, not maliciously but naturally. The way a plant draws water from soil, the plant does not hate the soil. It simply takes what it needs to survive. Swami Sivananda warned that a man who pours his vital energy outward, whether through lust, emotional labor, or spiritual caregiving, depletes the very life force that fuels his mission and his genius. The man in the teacher trap is not just losing time. He is losing the best of himself to someone who did not ask for it and will not guard it. Nikola Tesla understood this. He chose his work over romantic attachment entirely. Whether that was the right choice for every man is not the point. The point is that Tesla understood something most men never do, that the energy you give to a woman who is not growing with you is energy taken directly from the altar of your purpose. Here is what nobody tells you about understanding female nature. It does not make you bitter. It does not make you cold. It does not turn you into a man who cannot love. It makes you free. When a man stops projecting his romantic idealism onto women and starts seeing clearly, he stops being a victim of his own expectations. He stops building cathedrals for people who wanted a bus shelter. He stops pouring his deepest self into relationships that were never designed to hold that much weight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking." The man who understands female nature stops looking for completion in a woman and starts building completion within himself. That shift alone restructures his entire life. He becomes more selective, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. He can now see the difference between a woman who is genuinely building herself, who has her own discipline, her own direction, her own intentionality, and a woman who is simply looking for a man strong enough to carry her weight indefinitely. He stops falling into the teacher trap because he understands that you cannot want growth for someone more than they want it for themselves. You can inspire by example. You cannot install a soul. And here is what Robert Bly knew. The man who has found his wild man, who has integrated his shadow, who has gone into the woods and come back whole, that man does not need a woman to complete him. He enters relationships from fullness, not from hunger. And that changes everything about the dynamic that a man who needs a woman is controlled by her. A man who chooses a woman from a place of wholeness, who could walk away and still be himself, that man commands a different kind of respect, not through manipulation, through genuine self-possession. I want you to sit with this question and answer in the comments honestly. Have you ever tried to elevate a woman who never asked to be elevated? Have you ever confused being her anchor with being her equal? Drop it below. That answer will tell you everything about where you are right now. Here is how a man protects himself without becoming heartless. Step 1. Study before you invest. Do not pour resources into a woman before you have observed her over time and across different conditions. How does she behave under stress? Does she take accountability, or does she assign blame? Does she have her own goals, or does she orbit yours? Observation is not coldness. It is wisdom. Machiavelli said it plainly. Men should be judged by their actions, not their words. The same applies to women. Step 2. Keep your mission primary. David Deida was unambiguous about this. A man without a mission is a man without a spine. Your work, your purpose, your craft must always be the central organizing principle of your life. A woman who genuinely respects you will respect that. A woman who resents your mission was never the right woman. The mission is non-negotiable. Step 3. Stop teaching. Start leading. There's a difference between a man who leads by example and a man who lectures. If she grows inspired by watching you build yourself, good. If she does not, that is information. Stop explaining. Stop convincing. Let your life be the argument. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Stop responding to her stagnation with your anxiety. Step 4. Retain your energy. Every unit of emotional, mental, spiritual, and sexual energy you spend on a woman who is not investing equally in herself and in you is a unit taken from your legacy. Semen retention is part of this. Emotional retention is equally important. Stop processing her feelings at the expense of building your life. Guard your inner world like the sacred resource it is. Step 5. Find your wild man first. You cannot choose a woman wisely from a hollow place. The man who has not done his inner work, who has not faced his shadow, who has not gone into the woods and come back whole, will always choose from his wounds. He will choose the woman who mirrors his unhealed places. Go inward first. Build the foundation. Then and only then will you have the clarity to choose well. She was not your enemy. She was nature doing what nature does. The question was never about her. It was always about you. Whether you had done enough work on yourself to see clearly, whether you had found that wild man at the bottom of your psyche, that ancient, instinctive, dangerous part of yourself that knows the difference between love and dependency, between a woman who chooses you and a woman who simply has not found a better option yet. Most men never ask that question. They just keep loving blindly and wondering why it keeps costing them everything. You are not most men. You are here at the end of a video that most men clicked away from the first minute because the truth was too uncomfortable to sit with. That means the wild man in you is awake. Now go find him. If you are building yourself in silence, if you are done being drained and ready to be dangerous in the right way, subscribe to Lone Warriors. This is not a YouTube channel. This is a brotherhood of men who refuse to stay asleep. And we are just getting started. The war starts within.